Happy Sunday, y'all. Wait, no, I want to stop the music. Where is... Aha. Nice. Everything worked. That never happens. Cool. It's almost like I spent hours fixing my stream setup a few days ago. And then again yesterday. Cool. Anyways, happy Sunday. How you guys doing? Happy Easter? Something like that? Cool. Sorry for the impromptu last minute stream. I wanted to build something today, and I couldn't decide what. And I made the dumb idea of making a poll, knowing exactly what everybody was going to vote. But honestly, I was a little surprised how many votes the write a blog post option got. Let me just open the shitposting site. Makes it a lot easier. Step, y'all. Howdy, howdy. Howdy, Fizz. Good to have y'all here. I had this guy where I was incredibly surprised how many people voted for the blog post, honestly. This was not something I expected. We have a lot of people who want me to write more, which is cool. Wow, the 3x4 vertical looks way better than I expected it to. Yeah, I'm very happy I took the time to like redo my entire setup. Yeah, it looks sharp. Cool. Try Uno. Uno's early. I get the value it brings. It's not valuable to me. I'm very happy with Tailwind and the problems it solves for me. I could see Uno getting there eventually, but right now it's not solving a problem I have. Not going to play with anything I haven't before today, probably. I want to build something with the things I already know. I have a few things in mind. Let's actually start with that. We'll do my usual. I don't know what I'm going to have in here, so let's get a fresh Excalidraw words going. Fresh. Okay. How are you guys doing today? Cool. I now have this ready. Rad. So the plan is, I'll just call it straw poll, but not totally broken. And I have a few goals of things I wanted to do during this. Random goals. So, one of the first things is like we had a couple conversations on Twitter about TypeScript rules. So the first thing I want to do is fix Next.js's default TS template. I also was hoping to make a better boilerplate for T3 stack. Make resilient service that can handle millions of users. Thank you, Hidden. Also nice Twitch name. Almost like I worked at Twitch for half a decade to earn it. Yeah, I think this covers the main like goals I have. Let's actually sketch out what I have planned for the service. It's gonna be relatively simple. Usually start with like the database, which if anybody knows me, especially for something that we're worried about scale, Planetscale it is, which is MySQL plus Vitesse with infinite scale. It's a very good value. Cool. And then this will interact with our primary service, which is API layer. This guy will be Vercel. Why is this pointing at that? There we go. And Vercel will be hosting Lambda functions for fetching and updating votes. And from here, I will do our client layer. Also Vercel, this will be plus Next.js. I should have probably put that there for the Vercel plus tRPC. tRPC/next for clarity. And then here is where those functions get called. And this will cache pages to prevent. God, I hate the way the arrow is working this sometimes. Cache pages to prevent total API thrash chaos. Cool. That's the general like flow of data. So a user goes to the page, hits the API layer, that goes to the database, gets that data, returns it all through. Votes go the same way. This is a very simple architecture. I tend to build things this way. Yeah. Somebody asked like thoughts about using Prisma types on the front if not using tRPC. I think that's a slightly better question than we might be giving them credit. The reason you would do that is if you have a traditional API like REST endpoint that you know is just returning the Prisma data, and you want to make sure the front end has that type directly from there. The problem there is if you're not using something like tRPC, the type that you get from Prisma is going to include data that isn't, how do I put it? It's going to include data that's not part of what you'll get back from an API, because it might include like a date time in it, a map in it, or other data types that can't be serialized in JSON. So you'll be expecting a date time, but you get back a string. And that desynchronization makes me hesitate to recommend that. Yeah, and I saw somebody ask earlier about CSS and JS. Sorry, I didn't get to that before. Yeah, I used a lot of CSS and JS systems. I also used a lot of like CSS libraries like Bootstrap, and I never loved any of them. I went from thing to thing, not really caring too much for any one thing. And somebody on my team once wanted to use Tailwind. I was like, sure, whatever, we'll use it for the blog. After like a week or so of using it, I felt so productive. And I think that's the real win with Tailwind. It makes you feel so much faster than any of these other tools have. It's like CSS Zen mode almost. And I really like it for that. Don't know if it's for everybody, especially if you're building like a design system. I do think Tailwind is powerful as the primitives that you build that system on top of, but I don't think it's necessary for that. But if you're trying to Tailwind replaces CSS, not design systems. You can build a design system in whatever. I think Tailwind gives you really good primitives to do that with. Yeah, I never cared about design solutions in the like style space before. I used everything. And then I fell in love with Tailwind. It was the first one I really liked, and it happened way quicker than I expected to. Cool. Shall we get started? I vote yes. Init.tips, where we always go to start. Copy. I already have a folder here. Stream stuff. Yes. Polls. DD polls. npm install, npm run dev. And it doesn't include types node by default. Cool. This is what I meant by like this template kind of sucks. So let's fix it. Strict mode is set to false. Stupid. But this is what I mean. Like, it's TypeScript. It's supposed to be template or like strict. Also, incremental, bad. Delete. Isolated modules, fine. This is better than it was, but it's still not good. Strict is true in here. They said it to false, so that's just wrong. Okay, good start. Somebody asked if I'm a front end guy. I'm everything and nothing. I'm just all over the stack. But yeah, a lot of people would say I'm a front end person. They'd probably say I like CSS. Eh, it's not my favorite thing. I hired a CSS person as like my first hire at Ping, if that helps at all. Judge where I am. Okay, cool. These are okay. I'm actually gonna open the work code base because we have a couple flags in here. No unchecked indexes is huge. I think this is an essential flag every code base should have on. Theo's additional opinions. I should probably bring back incremental and set it false. Hot take quick. I have been a big fan of the, what's it called? Like, I've been a big fan of TypeScript for a while, and I used to push incremental adoption as like one of the reasons you have no excuse to not be using TypeScript. The incremental adoption story is imaginary. I've never seen it work out really great. Like you can force it, but it's not much more work than just fixing the code base and starting from scratch in TypeScript or doing like a weekend rewrite. The incremental and like partial adoption story for TypeScript is not great. So I asked about the AirPod Max. Just go to my blog, t3.gg. It's the second post on there is a review of the AirPod Max. So yeah, I have opinions and I'd prefer you to go find those yourself. Anyways. Just, I might have, I shouldn't have, okay, cool, I don't. Anyways. Rad. So these are some of the first rules. Let's go look at TypeScript rules. Yeah, we'll be using Next.js today. Not rules, config rules. I do like no fall through cases. Is no implicit any on? Oh, they don't have no implicit any on. I forgot about that. They're like really stupid about that. No implicit any. True. One of the worst rules they don't have on in this. The Macs are insultingly bad compared to the AirPod Pros. Like I have two sets of the Pros because they're weirdly good, and the Macs are weirdly bad. That's all I'll say. TypeScript promise config rules. There's like I know hanging promises of some form. Strict 2 does not enable no implicit any, if I recall. Pages. Oh, they don't have examples with SSR built in anymore, which is probably for the better. Yeah, Fizz. I don't want to get lost in a headphone thing. Yeah, I'm going to ignore that. Just know I have an audio degree and I know what I'm talking about with headphones. That's all. You've used reactive JavaScript but never tried TypeScript. Is it better to get knowledge about TypeScript or just go ahead and get started on reactive TypeScript? Good instinct. It's better to just get started. One of the problems with TypeScript that I find people running into is they try to learn TypeScript. There's so much crazy shit in TypeScript that ideally you won't spend much of any time learning it. You'll use it, and when things don't work as you expect, you go find why. So generally, yeah, I don't think you should think of it as learning TypeScript. You should think of it as learning how to build things with JavaScript, and TypeScript gives you the rules and like the the footing to screw up less as you do it. Yeah. I'm a big fan of learning TypeScript by cloning a TypeScript repo, playing with things, and when they break, figuring out why. Otherwise, it's really easy to like fall through. Oh, no floating promises. I remember where we enable this. It's since it's a lint rule, it goes somewhere else. Yeah, it's tslint, but that can't be configured through tsconfig if I recall. Do I have to set up a lint rule file too? Whatever. There's something else I would want to do. I'm gonna see if implicitity is a thing. Cool. So this is implicitity fails. If I delete this, is it cool? Nope. If I delete the strict mode. Yep, you're correct. Strict mode does have that now. So the one thing that was really sus for me was strict mode is set to false by default here. Cool. I can't imagine true or false as a typo, but yeah, I'll put that on the list of things to complain about. I'll admit this is a lot better than it was like a few weeks ago. It seems like they've been hearing about my complaints. Yeah, I'd say the big one is no unchecked indexes. For those who don't know what this rule is, I'll do a quick demo. Const list of things equals, say it's a string array, I'll just manually type it. Cats, dogs. So this is an array with two things in it. And we want to console log the uppercase of one of these. So list of thing 0.2 uppercase. Totally cool, right? What happens if I change this to a 2? And this wasn't unchecked. If I just got 77 viewers? What the hell? Yeah, CM Griffin. Thank you for the raid, man. Really appreciate it. Good to have a whole new audience. Were you guys engineering before? Y'all software? Or just a random raid? Thanks for stopping by, man, and thanks for bringing the audience. Cheers. Good stuff. Always cool. When I was working at Twitch, this programmer scene did not exist on here at all, and it's so cool seeing like just like a year or two later after I left, it's like really blowing up. It's been super cool. I always wanted this, and it's finally happening. So thank you for fighting the good fight and making this happen. Working on a bot to help figure out who you raid. I love that. I'm pumped that I'm on the list. I guess that bot's working good if it found me. Good work. Yeah, I'm going to build a polling app, so that should be fun. You've been here for 4 years? Damn. Damn. Well, I definitely should have been following you. Thank you for stopping by, man. I really appreciate it. Anyways, so the no unchecked indexes rule is really cool because it yells at you if you try and access something from an array and just assume it exists, because list of things 0 might be undefined. If I had like const some animals string equals that, this without that rule would be typed as string, because by default it assumes you know what you're doing, which is a bad assumption. Oh, the bot didn't find this. Oh, shoot. Well, thank you, Prime, once again. Huge shout out to him for that. Happy that my Twitter shit posting got me an awesome debate. That was super fun. Yeah, he's editing the VOD now, so there will be a good upload of that soon. I've started posting clips on my own YouTube, but we'll have a lot more soon. Thank you again for stopping by. And obviously for bringing your audience along with you. I love that part. Yeah. For those that don't know me, I'm Theo. I worked at Twitch for about half a decade. I worked on the internal video infra for like the Bob Ross Marathon, Power Rangers, Mr. Rogers, all the content. Moved over to VOD, hopped on safety, built ModView, built a bunch of internal tools. Started working on Creator for a bit. Eventually realized I wanted to build Creator tools myself. So I took off and started doing my own thing. I actually started a company at the end of last year, Ping Labs. We build software for content creators to bring collaborative people and guests onto their shows live, kind of like Zoom for streamers, if that makes sense. Lets you hop in a call on here, copy paste them into your OBS, and now you can transform other people in your setup super fancy and like live compose your call experience rather than just screen capturing Zoom or Discord and hoping for the best. So I built this for my own show. I wanted to like do things like this at Twitch, realized it was better to do it on my own, and now I'm CEO of a Y Combinator company, which is pretty cool. So yeah, if you guys are interested in using tools for content creators and seeing how crisp and how low latency you can get, really proud of what we built here. It is definitely the highest quality video calling app in the industry. It just so happens to be built for streamers because they're the ones who need it. Saw somebody ask, what is OBS? It is a very, very important tool. It is the Open Broadcast Suite. It was built by, or sorry, Open Broadcaster software. It was built by an awesome group of people that wanted to make streaming and live like video creation better. It's kind of like Photoshop for live video. So you have layers, you have scenes, you can drag things around, audio mixer built in. It's the program that pretty much all of us use to go live with, like well over three quarter, I believe as much as like 90% of the top 1,000 streamers are using OBS or a wrapper around it. So yeah, it's kind of like the Linux of video. It's a big open source thing nobody can compete with that is essential. Yeah, Screecher sucks. It's not that Chrome hates us, it's that Chrome hates y'all. Like screen capture is really hard to do right. What tools are used to stream videos? Like when you have a live message sharing when or we usually use sockets was used for video? Good question. So video depends a lot. For video calls where latency is a really important thing and you want to be low latency to have a natural conversation, WebRTC tends to be the standard. It's a lossier, faster standard focused on like a group of people getting in a call and having like the quickest experience possible. For video, like what we do on Twitch, we tend to use something like RTMP, which is I think it's UDP based. It's a straight like send the video pipe out to another endpoint. It's much slower. It's heavily encoded. The goal of RTMP is to like get a close to bit perfect stream from A to B. That's what you use when you go live on Twitch and YouTube and things like that. Most people associate RTMP with quality and WebRTC with speed, but there are balances to hit like an in between there where you can make really good quality happen in WebRTC and you can make okay latency happen in RTMP. I don't know what links to share. These are all open standards. If you're looking for like the link for what I'm building, ping.gg, that's my company. Rad. I wanted to write code though, so let's go write some code. Don't need those open anymore. Happy with the rules I have set, honestly. Cool. No unchecked indexes was the big one. I'll bug more people to do that. Anyways, everything we need here to get started. Let's do that. Get status, get add. Get commit better starting point. I have to actually make a GitHub repo. That's important. New repo. What should we name this? What should we name my polling app, guys? What's a funny name for something for voting? I Naming things is hard. Let's. Why can't I get the view? Oh, am I hitting the wrong key? Yeah, there we go. Ah, random name generator. Here's one I've used before. This looks so cringe. Perfect. Those are people names. Band name works for me. These are all awful. I'm on a vote. We'll go with on a vote. Copy, paste. Cool. Now we can actually get things done. Hopefully, at least. So, what should I start with first? tRPC, Tailwind, Prisma, Planetscale. All are necessary. I'll start with Tailwind because it's like the easiest. Tailwind, ducks. They have a Next.js thing in here. Those. Oh, I forgot about the other thing I hate about the default template. New folder source. There we go. And now this is going to be freaking out. Working again. Then in the purge. Sorry, now the content. We want this to just be source, and I can delete that. Tailwind directives, styles, global, kill their resets, kill this entirely. Probably make sure this is like working. Cool. Kill the module. Don't need that guy anymore. Styles dots needs to die. They're gonna be perfect. And now class name equals text to Excel, font bold. Yep, that one's working. Kill all that. Kill the footer too. Kill image because we won't be using that much. I saw a question about like making a template. I my my thing with templates is they often encourage you to start with things you don't need. Like the amount of static sites with Redux is hilarious. And I would really hate to put out a template because I would see a bunch of people making their blogs with tRPC, which just, yeah. Should I have something to make it a little easier to set up with like 3 of the 5 things that I always end up using? Perhaps. My ideal would be a CLI that's like a checklist. It's like, are you doing this? Are you doing this? Are you doing this? And it installs the right like parts automatically. you're having trouble learning WebRTC. Don't learn WebRTC. Use WebRTC using somebody else's service for it. Mux is working on one. Cloudflare has one. The easiest ones are going to be Agora, 100ms, Daily, and Twilio. But rolling your own WebRTC is borderline like rolling your own hardware infra at this point. Just use AWS. And with WebRTC, use a WebRTC provider. Everybody's so excited to roll their own versions of things that work well. Don't. Just use the one that does. It's all working roughly how I want it to. Git status, make sure that's all git commit style defaults closer to my preferences. Talking is hard. And now, one of the most important steps, get it building so you know if it ever stops. Oh, hi Soda. Good to have you here, Kyle. Been a while. Really enjoyed your recent Remix plus Redux tutorial. That's a great one. Imagine. God, I should have put out a trolley tutorial for April Fool's Day, like how to get started with WordPress. That would have been so good. Ugh. Why do you have to come up with these jokes now? Cool. Now we know this works. On a vote.vercel.app wasn't taken, which is cool, but I'm still gonna like throw this on like VOD.t3.g just so we have it on something. That's mine. God, we're still making that work is one of like the coolest pieces of magic. Like I have my domain in here. I come here, I type in what I want, and now it's live on my TLD on my TLD. Well, it's not a TLD, but t3.gg is so short it feels like one. Like, yeah, this is the magic of Vercel nobody else has. Like they have parts of this, but nobody has the whole. You type three things in your terminal, you link it to your GitHub, you type in the domain you want, and you're here. Yeah, OG Zeit was rough. It's really cool that they've made it this far. Cool. Well, now we have this working. tRPC next. I feel like tRPC is less useful without Prisma, but with Prisma, I have to go do a bunch of other parts too. tRPC or Prisma next? Somebody vote. Whichever someone says first, we're going with. Prisma. Fuck. Okay, Prisma it is. Prisma docs started. Let's see if they have a next example. This is just the instantiation. Whatever, I remember this. Prisma init. Cool. Now, we don't want this getting in the build. Once again, I'm going to check company code. Ah! Yeah, I can check roundest for this too, so I'll do that. Roundest schema. Don't really need a shadow URL anymore because I won't be doing migrations. Cool. Oh, I'm still going to need a vote model. That's convenient. Let's start with a question, though. I'll just rip this. Ends at date time optional. Just have the question string for now. This will be a question. Poll question. Good start. CGR, yes. Putting the referential integrity in Prisma is not doing that in SQL. We're going to be using Planetscale, which doesn't have built-in referential integrity because it uses Vitess under the hood. So the actual data layer is fully abstracted in the data store, which means that it can't make guarantees about like a reference being properly like cleaned up within itself. And if you make a change to the referential rules, that might not be applied instantly. So they choose to not enforce them at all so that you can build your own cleanup processes. I was really against it initially, and I still think it has some gotchas. I actually talked with the CEO of Planetscale about this during my show. But man, the value and the performance you get out of Planetscale and the way that they think of MySQL is so powerful that I've caved and it's worth it. Yeah, I saw somebody else say that they're using Planetscale if their startup. Yep, same. It's great. That's the next thing we have to do anyways, so let's do it. Oh, I have a Svelte testdb that I wasn't using for anything. This is a perfect thing to kill and replace. Let's delete Svelte test. And now I have more databases. US West 2, call this on I remember somebody getting mad on my team because having dashes made the DB name invalid in like MySQL syntax, so I'm gonna not do that this time. Are there any similar services for like Planetscale but for Postgres? No, can't be done. There's a lot of people who are getting close-ish, but they have to reinvent Postgres from scratch because MySQL has two parts. It has the query layer and the data store. The data store is called InnoDB, and the MySQL query layer is built on top. So you can rebuild the storage layer underneath without giving up the MySQL on top. Over in Postgres land, the data store and the layer on top, the SQL, are the same. So you can't separate them anywhere near as easily. There is Cockroach, but they're reinventing Postgres from scratch to try and get there. Supabase is not trying to do this at all. Supabase is trying to make it easy to set up a DB, not to scale one. They have a pool built on top, but all that helps you with is many connections in serverless land. It doesn't get you to your first 100 million users. I don't think there's anybody on Supabase that has more than like a few million users, and even they would probably be struggling performance-wise. It is one of the best ways to get started. And I actually, I hate to just plug my YouTube for half my stream, but it's funny how the questions that come up are all things I've answered really well. So I have an interview I did with the CEO of Planetscale, Sam Lambert. So if you want to hear how we think about all of these things, definitely check out this interview. We talk about Supabase for like half of it. So really useful. God, I also noticed I don't have this in a reasonable state, so I'm going to go fix that super quick so that my thumbnail has something in it. God, YouTube is so much worse at live in stupid ways. It's so much more pleasant. Whatever, I can keep screen sharing while I do this. Anyways, thank you guys all for staying during the raid. My viewerships went up since I got raided, so thank you guys for that. I'm pumped you're enjoying this some amount. Wait, I'm supposed to be able to select a thumbnail from my stream. Why can't I do that? It's dumb. If I go to my own YouTube, will it show a random clip from this? No? Okay, cool, it is now. That's decent enough. Whatever. Oh, you work at Supabase. No shit. Well, cool to have a fellow YC company in chat. Yeah, Supabase is great. I do recommend it a lot. I find that it's hard to recommend for me, not because it isn't the right solution, but because my audience is so hell-bent on scale and Planetscale experience now. Like, this is great, but I do actually think Planetscale is the better place to get started, especially if you're like a newer developer jumping into full stack for the first time. But if you want to like own everything and understand the parts and how they interop and have a really compelling story for an interview, using Prisma, Planetscale, tRPC, and assembling your own auth with like Next.auth on top is super valuable. But if you want to get a website working and like in a good fashion as quickly as possible, nobody's been fired for picking Supabase. I would fire you for picking Firebase. Anyways. What is Prisma? Really good question, and that's what we're setting up now. Prisma is a, how would I explain it? It is kind of an ORM, which is an object resource manager for SQL. It basically translates between SQL and TypeScript for us. Gonna try and not get too distracted with questions for a minute. Sorry if I miss y'all. I will be keeping track of them and like going over questions in bursts, but I want to get this all set up for anybody who wants to like see how the parts work. So Planetscale is hosting our SQL. We're going to be using Prisma to connect to Postgres or to MySQL at Planetscale and use that inside of TypeScript. Cool. So we need to connect. So I'm going to use the pscale client. I think I need to org switch to T3. Cool. Pscale connect. We'll just use main for now. That's fine. Pscale connect. Why Prisma, not TypeORM? Because nobody has shipped TypeORM that isn't already like shipping it for a very long time. What's the tech stack I'm using? Init.tips, T3 stack, init.tips. Just sharing this so I stop getting distracted. Okay, I am ignoring chat for the next 5 minutes. I'll scroll through and look at all your questions in a minute. So now we have to connect to the DB locally. We're doing that via the pscale connect command. I think we can just type in VOD main, maybe. Oh, it already picked main for us. Cool. So now we're connected on main. I usually, we'll leave it on the default port. So now we have to set our URL and environment variable. Looks like we have to do some fancy thing like this. Nope. Localhost 3000. What's the port? It's just 3306 / VOD. And this should just work. Pscale, or not pscale, npx prisma db push. I have to start with MySQL. MySQL. I suppose you can't see that. I should rethink where I put my like badges so you can see the commands I enter. I'm just gonna hide them for now. One sec. Studio moding these out of the way. Cool. Better. Gonna not get anywhere near as many follows. I'm about to break 5,000 follows on Twitch or on Twitter. So go follow me there so I could break 5,000 already. It's taken way too long. Cool. At t3.gg there. Anyways, that npx prisma db push worked. So that's npx prisma studio, one of the coolest and most underrated Prisma features. This lets you access and play with your DB directly in like this nice UI. So I can make a new entry. How do magnets work? Save it. And now I have this in my DB, which is so convenient to be able to do that just automatically by typing in Prisma Studio if you have a Prisma config. It's magic. It makes my life a billion times easier. Cool. So let's just list all of the questions on the site super quick. Now that we have all this, I can hop in here. I'm going to do a thing I hate, which is server-side props. Export const get server-side props equals... This needs to be async. Also need to create a Prisma client. There's a best practice recommendation for this. Yeah, cool. Copy source db client ts const questions equals await Prisma. Can I not import from there automatically? That's dumb. Import Prisma from should be ... to go up to the next folder, then db. Oh, it's client. And this is named in there. Cool. Await Prisma dot, and this is where Prisma gets magic. It actually generates types based on what you put inside of the schema. So it will autocomplete poll questions dot find many. And this will now select all the questions from DB. I have the type of poll question array back. And then I can return props questions. I'm going to JSON it myself because I don't trust the type it's going to return otherwise. JSON.stringify questions. And then on client, props, I'm going to props any because this isn't how I like to do things, but I'll just print it out in here. Code props dot questions. Localhost, not running, npm run dev. Cool. And here's the question straight from DB. Cool. Catching up on chat quick. People can't see .environment or files on server. Yeah, those should not be accessible. You're like very wrong if they are. Yeah, secrets should not be exposed ever. Ever, ever. And you shouldn't be committing those either. The way that you should access or put secrets on the server, I was actually going to go do that next, so I will demonstrate this live. Go back to Vercel, going to close a bunch of these things. I don't need them anymore. Already in Vercel here. We need a database URL. Database URL. So we do not commit this file. We do not even think about committing this file. We put it in here. So we need a URL to connect. In our code, we were doing this via the local URL, which was, if I go to my environment variable, I can show this here because we don't have anything private. But you can see this guy is localhost. That's no good on the server. So what we actually need is a connection URL that we generate from here. So I would click connect, and you can see this password. You can't see the whole thing, though. Actually, you can here. So I'm going to have to kill and regenerate this, like not showing it live. But right now, what I would do is copy this URL, copy this, and then go inside of here and paste that. I have to go regenerate this quick because you guys saw it. So give me one moment for that. Cool. Let's delete that one. It is deleted. New. Copy. Paste. Add. And it is no longer visible. Got it right this time. Anyways, now you've seen how this worked. And now, if I... Oh, I want to keep that connected, actually. My bad. Git status, git add. Prisma added, git push. This is actually going to possibly fail on build because I need to add a post install step. So since Prisma generates types, it needs to do that generation. One of the easiest ways is to add a post install script. This runs after you npm install. And now that that has been added, just don't need any of these things open anymore. Git status, git add a. Let's this up. Git. I'm using tmux for my terminal. That's why I'm able to do all the fancy stuff with it. Cool. Git commit post install for Prisma, git push. Cool. Now all the Prisma stuff's done, and that should be connecting. Most importantly, once it deploys, this is like localhost 1. Vercel deployments. Did that fail to push? Okay, now it's just starting build late. Cool. Should be ready in just a sec. My cat's screaming at the door. I'm gonna let him in quick. Found a boy. This is Miles. He smells bad right now. Like, awful, actually. What the hell did you get into? There's nothing even here for you to get into. Ow. I was like, you're sharp, too. God damn it. Yeah, he usually hangs out on my shoulder. Did you just almost fall? Yeah, he usually hangs out on my shoulders. He was complaining a lot before this, so I kicked him out. And he's probably going to be screaming a lot soon. So be ready for that. Anyways, looks like this deployed, and it looks like I'm now getting JSON out. Also, my chair mat got screwed, and this will drive me insane. There we go. Much more comfortable. Yeah, we're getting our JSON back, which means we get to do the fun part, tRPC, so I never have to write a goddamn type again. So for those that don't know, tRPC is the magic glue that lets me move as fast as I do. tRPC is that you write a query and then you call it, and everything in between, including the type definitions, is handled. It's the thing we need, especially when we have Prisma giving us types out of our database. This moves those all the way to the client. Can you rotate passwords? Yes, you absolutely can. In here, there is settings, passwords, and you can create and delete passwords from here. That makes them invalid. How in the world does tRPC only have 5k stars? It did not have 5k anywhere near this before I started talking about it. I have earned so many of these for them, and I'm really proud. I've put tRPC on so many maps. I was going to go build this myself. I talked with Tanner Lindsley about it, and he said, oh, do you know about tRPC? Somebody built it on top of React Query. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but it sounds like what you're describing. And then I went and looked at it. It intimidated me initially, so I ignored it for a few days. Tried it out after moving my blog to Astro because I wanted to do more stuff, and it just melted my brain. It has quickly become one of the most important parts of every code base I work in that is full stack. It makes back end to front end and the relationship between them feel so much less cumbersome. I didn't realize how much time I was wasting. So, one step back. The core philosophy of tRPC is if my front end is TypeScript and my back end is TypeScript, why do I keep inventing a thing in the middle? Why do I have to keep making GraphQL or Swagger or all these new standards to let my TypeScript backend and my TypeScript frontend understand what they're doing? tRPC gives you that by having you write a function and then call it on the other side. So we're going to set it up because it's really easy to do. Okay, it's a little, I would say, super annoying to set up, but there are some gotchas because it's very self-rolled. I like that. I think it's part of the value is that like each piece is modular and can be reused and replaced. I was able to take a tRPC code base that was tRPC Next.js and rewrite it in solid.js and Vite, still using tRPC, writing my own tRPC client for solid, and it went great. So the parts being modular lets you do some crazy shit. I need to npm install. Yes, I know people like Yarn. npm is standard. I'll probably move to pnpm eventually. Node or npm for now because it's standard. Try vanilla JS. That is an account. Oh man. Oh man. That there are a few accounts that fit less here. But good to have you regardless. Thanks for watching. I love that in here they actually tell you enable strict mode and specifically strict null checks because it's the only way you actually get types out of Zod consistently because it should be. And it should be on anyways. Anyways, let's do a sample router. They put the wrong file name for this. It should be in the tRPC directory, which is fine. So, quick tip on how Next.js works. One of the magic tricks is this API directory in Pages. Anything you put in Pages becomes a route, so like a URL that you can go to. In API, it becomes a JSON endpoint, kind of like an express endpoint. So we're going to use that to do tRPC slash tRPC.ts, I believe is the name. It might be double wrapped. Let me oh, it's just tRPC, not even the dots. It's tRPC slash, yep. Paste, save, cool. So this is our backend now. We have a single query, hello. It takes an input, which is an optional text string, and it returns greeting, hello, whatever. So what we're now going to do is get this ready on the front end with a tRPC query layer. The magic here is that this client that we're about to make, that should be a file. Let me try that. till/trpc.ts. What this guy is doing is it's importing the app router itself. So this is importing the entire backend as a type and then using this to generate React hooks for the client where the type comes from the backend directly. But wait, you're importing backend code in your front end? Doesn't mean that's going to ship to your users? Nope, because we're only importing the types, and TypeScript is imaginary. So what happens here is when we actually run a build, all of the types for all of the backend get eradicated and wiped out, so that the user gets a pretty standard web app, and we as developers and our editor and our CI and all of our build systems get a super strict backend front end relationship. It is magical. It is a huge part of how we're able to move as fast as we do. So what I can now do is on the client, I still have to wrap the app. I remember, if I recall, yeah, I have to do this guy. This is possibly the most annoying part. I know it decently well. Let's just work. Cool. It's gonna grab Vercel URL or localhost 3000. Hopefully this will do what it needs to. How does tRPC make money? It doesn't. Alex is very busy. He has another job, funny enough, at another Y Combinator company. I don't know how public that is yet. Sorry, Alex, for outing that. But yeah, Alex has a real job. He's very busy. He does most of tRPC like himself, starting to form a community. But it's a one-man project. It's not too much. I shouldn't say it's not too much work. It's like not a GraphQL in the sense that there's a standard to maintain. tRPC is really clever glue. It's really well thought out glue between like 5 other people's and other like technologies shit. It glues together TypeScript, Express to an extent, Next.js to an extent, React Query to an extent, all together with superjson in a query syntax that's relatively simple. The work's going into rethinking that syntax and structure, and there's a lot of cool stuff coming with tRPC version 10 soon. There's proposals up on the GitHub right now if you want to read through them. The big magic trick that's coming is the ability to right-click, go to definition on client, and it brings you to the backend function, which is just like mind-blowing. So excited for that to all be ready. Cool. This is done, which means this should work now. Const data is loading equals tRPC dot. Ready for the magic, guys? Use query. Start typing a string. No, it has to be an array. String. Hello. Where is this coming from? That hello comes from the definitions in our router. So if I go back to our tRPC router here, string hello, if I change this to hi, we'll immediately see we're getting a type error on the client because this is expecting hello or hi, and hello isn't a valid API endpoint. And now that we have this all, I can, if is loading, return div loading, else return div data dot greeting, which might not exist. So I'll do if is loading or no data. And now we don't need the question mark because if there's no data, we won't be here. Can delete all of this guy. I'll move this in a moment. But if I now go localhost 3000, we're going to get that because I didn't rebuild this after all those changes. My cat's going to knock some things over. And hopefully now... Nope. Oh, I don't have the next or the React query client. I'm going to kick out my cat. 1 sec. You're right. Sorry. Anyways. So what did I forget? I forget the React query client. I don't think I did. Oh, is it possible I installed 2 newer version of React query? 335 should be fine. Nothing here should be broken. I should actually read the error. Cannot read properties, reading client. Oh, SSR true. I don't trust this. Cool. That's all it was. I don't trust the SSR in tRPC. I don't use SSR for apps too often. Git add. Cool. Git add tRPC working now. Git push. Cool. So something you might have noticed we were doing before in here is this get server-side props guy. This is returning a JSON string because this guy has a date time in it and it won't serialize otherwise. So what I'm doing here is nasty and we don't want to do that anymore. We're going to go make our first tRPC endpoint. We're going to kill this. We'll leave that default high one and chain a new query on it. We'll say get all questions. And this doesn't need an input. It just needs a resolve. So async resolve. And this needs to do something. So I will just join this part actually, because that's all I need. And we will return this. Make sure I'm actually importing Prisma where I need it. Need to set up some aliases in a minute. And we don't need this at all anymore. Routes are code split in tRPC by default. Or not in tRPC, in Next.js. But are you suggesting that tRPC actually code split what the router does based on the routes? No, because it doesn't have routes, it has a route. So right now, nothing is code split. It has its own consequences there. Working on it. There's a group chat called Big Router Gang in the tRPC like Discord. That's us trying to find ways to make tRPC scale to the size where you would need to route split. But yeah, good catch. Right now, it does not do that. Cool. So here we fetch and return this. Somebody asked if it sets up superjson for you. It doesn't, but it didn't set up anything for me. I copy paste a bunch of shit, and I would hope that he includes it in the default setup now. He might not. I should make sure he does that because I was just copy pasting a lot. He does not. Cool. Good catch. Let's add superjson. So let's see what happens if I don't. So we were using this. I want get all questions now. And data.greeting isn't a thing anymore. Data 0 dot question. Cool. That came through. I should console log data here. See what types are coming through. Yep, that's a string, not a date time. Cool. So I'm gonna go add superjson quick because I definitely want that. Oh, it doesn't even include it in the usage with Next, so. Res not included by default anymore. Well, it never was, but I'm surprised it's not as expected. Okay, well, it's typed in yarn. Gross. Let's go add this to the client. Create. Oh, it's tRPC client. Do I even do that in here, or that just? Yeah, no, I don't do this in here at all. I do this in here. Here's where I do this. I open up roundestmot and I figure out where I did it here. If I even remember to do it here, which it looks like I might not have either. Yeah, I did not. Cool. Third time's the charm. I open up my work code base. Source. Pages, API. Okay, it's not there. I don't want to stream myself going through the app folder, hiding that. Yeah, it's just part of the with your PC return. In config, transformer. To. Oh, I'm in roundestmot. I'm a moron. What is superjson? Somebody's asking. Superjson is a transformer that will turn your the JSON that you pass or the returns you pass into your PC. It converts them into a JSON superset that can do things JSON can't. Things like date times, things like maps, other like data types that JSON can't serialize. SuperJSON will serialize for you. Cool. I also have to add it to the router. Router.transformer superJSON. Do I have to just cool? And now I have superJSON on both sides. If I go back here and refresh, the data type in here should now be an actual date time. See that? Ta-da! Magic. Cool. Get status, get add. Ta-da! Nice. So, what did I want to do next? It's a really good starting point. I'm gonna take the chance to like catch up on chat quick. Let's scroll through these. Explain superjson. Somebody saw on like Tailwind. I should have an easier way to do this. Just gonna open up my restream chat in a tab here so I can scroll through it whenever I see it from in here. Settings. Is there a pop out of this? There is not. So I'm just gonna open this here and scroll through this in the future. It'll be way easier. Well, I missed a lot of chat, but y'all seem to have taken good care of it for me. Thank you guys. Yeah, back to the why Prisma, not typo ORM question, so I'm gonna stop scrolling. Cool. Let's get this working more. So these are all the main parts, the essentials that I wanted to have set up, and it's even working like in production already. Let's start working on additional routes and the things that they need. Yeah, I'm trying to pick an order of events. So I was a little more drained than I thought I was. Why did chat get so quiet, y'all? Speak up. Ask some questions. Make suggestions. UI is probably a good like thing to build. Now all the setup's done. A data model could even help. Should we? Yeah. Let's start with the thing that lets you create questions. I don't mock UI, I make UI. It's not that much harder for me to make than mock. It's actually a lot harder to mock than it probably should be, but that's an aside. Cool. So let's make a route for the homepage should be for creating. So I mean, I should make a separate route for fetching based on your ID, probably. We'll do that next. For now, I want to like let you create IDs. Yes, tRPC is completely set up. We can now actually I'll show off that a tiny bit. So here we have the tRPC router. This is where we're defining our queries. I could split this up more. Let's do that actually. Source, backend, router, index.ts, questions.ts. So first thing we're going to do is yoink this guy to here. We export the app router, import. Oh, I also had the tRPC next adapter here. We want that guy. And we want to import the app router. And now we've separated this into its own place. And we can actually combine and stack routers, which is one of the coolest like tRPC features. I'm gonna just yoink this guy, rename this question, router, kill superjson as we won't need it here. I'm gonna kill the height query and have just this one. Index for the types. And then in here, you're gonna dot merge question router. And you can give it a prefix too. Oh, the prefix goes first. Questions. And I'm gonna rename this to just get all. We're gonna start getting a type error here because get all questions doesn't exist. Oh, because this is not getting the type correctly anymore. This is now from the router. Backend router. And now this is going to type error because this doesn't exist. Questions. Oh, I need to put something I like questions dot. Cool. Questions dot get all is the new endpoint. Reformat backend. Cool. Also, props any isn't needed. Let's kill that. Cool. No more weird any casting because everything is type safe as it should have been all along. Rad. Now we should make it possible to create a question. And we start that in tRPC, well, in this case, question, our new router here. Zod will actually need for this. So we need to make a mutation. And this mutation has an input, well, we'll name it create input z.object. Zod is a validator. It lets you run some code against something and confirm that it matches the style and syntax of that thing. So in this case, we have an input const new question equals await prisma dot poll question dot create data, and this is going to need an actual question, which we'll do empty string for now because we don't have one yet. We want question input dot question. Cool. And since we have this input validator, if you don't pass a string, we won't even get here because it won't let you. Because it will error at this point. You can even write custom errors here by like, there's a custom rule thing in here. I can't remember. I think it's just refinement. If you add a refinement, it lets you write a custom function to check if this is valid or not, and or if it fails, it will let you write a custom error for it. So that's the error that actually comes through to the client if they don't follow the rules. But we just want this to have a min length. We'll say 5.max. We'll say 600 characters. So your question has to be at least 5 characters long. And now we'll be able to drop that into DB. I also just remembered that varchars are that strings in MySQL are really short. Varchar MySQL. So we're gonna give this Prisma string MySQL. Let's see. Yeah, by default it's varchar 191. We want a much longer varchar. I also want to make it like a free text. I can't remember what I used for this prior. I'm gonna once again check the work code base. I had somebody else on the team figure this out for us, and I thought I memorized what we ended up picking, but I am wrong. Prisma. Oh, it's at db dot. Stupid. I just closed all of my code accidentally. At db. There we go. I am so curious what happened to the DB with that. MPX Prisma Studio. See if it killed the field. Oh no, it kept the field. Did not expect that. Nice. Which means now if I close a bunch of these things, I don't need them anymore. localhost create. Yeah, looks fine. Let's go add that to the page. We'll make a new component for it. Const question creator react.fc equals const mutate. I create quest. I want to show you guys off like how cool React query is here, so I'll just do it the simple way. tRPC.use mutation questions.create because it's the only mutation it immediately auto completes. And return input yeah, I'll just leave this like this, honestly. On submit equals event dot current value. I'm just going to console log this, make sure it does what I expect it to. Because I'm doing this without state because I'm lazy. Value. Should actually render this. Name equals text to Excel, font bold. Why the hell is this not applying? Is Tailwind not picking up on things? / source. I am mildly confused as to why Tailwind doesn't appear to be working. Hoping that a refresh does it. No? What the hell? Text to Excel, font bold. Are these not getting applied? Did I break Tailwind somehow? Oh, I might not be including the CSS file in app.tsx. Good call. Sorry, as I have a bad type here. And I have to load the global CSS for global.css. Is it styles globals? Yeah, with an S. That's dumb. Yeah, thank you for that catch. I appreciate it. Fix Tailwind and other addon types. Extend db question length. Cool. All that's fixed now. Let's actually build the UI. How do magnets work? There's a text field you can barely see here. That's fine for now. Also class name equals p6 flex column. Just make it look a little more like a UI. Cool. Testing. Let's see what does enter trigger the on submit. No, I think I actually have to use like on submit, or I can't use on submit for this. Yeah, that would be a form for that to work. Do I make this like a form, or do I make this the lazy way and just use React State? I'm leaning towards doing it the lazy way and using React State, but we're gonna want to make a real form in the future. So on key down, if event dot key equals enter. Cool. That gets us everything we need. So from here, we can mutate. This is going to autocomplete, which is cool because it's from tRPC. We get the expected thing. And then event dot current target dot value equals empty string. And we can add options here on success. I want the whole tRPC client. Const client equals trpc.use. Dot invalidate queries. So what this guy does is on the success of this mutation, it's going to invalidate the queries, which should force it to refetch the questions. Does another question appear? It does not. That should have worked. Looks like the mutation might have failed. Got any hints here? Let's. Did we succeed? Square. So you don't need brackets on mutation because it doesn't have an input. The reason for the brackets is it identifies a key that shouldn't, or that should be unique so that it can cache against it. Mutations don't need to cache because they're mutations. Okay, that worked. Oh, I'm only displaying the 0th question. That's why I'm a moron. Data map question. There we go. Another test. And it works. It worked the whole time. I'm just a moron. Cool. Anyways. We could even go a step further where we ref this guy. Let's const input ref equals react.use ref. No. Input ref equals input ref. And now, this isn't going to be the right type. I can, in here, current dot value equals empty string. Gonna invalidate this here instead. If return. So this will actually invalidate and clear out the value of the input here because I want to on load disable the input field. So disabled equals is loading. This will be a better user experience. Oh yeah, none of my chat is appearing right now. It might have broken. It shouldn't have. Streamlabs. My chat on screen is using some old legacy stuff. Oh yeah, it does. It only shows the recent ones. Cool. Yeah. I can make it show for longer in the future. I'm lazy and busy and proud that any of this works at all. Cool. One more test. Cool, that's way better. It actually leaves the text there and keeps it in a loading state until it submits. So much happier with that. Cool. Get ability to add questions. Get push. Cool. Lots of progress. Try to decide if I want to add auth or not. Ooh. Oh, I don't have the environment variable set for Vercel URL, I bet. That will be in here. No, that should set by default. Why would that be set to localhost? It should. Had this problem before. So this absolutely should be on prod. So this absolutely should be working on prod. Vercel URL is a default variable. Might have to use the next public Vercel URL to have access to it. Once again, I'm checking my work code base to see what we're doing there out of curiosity. So I keep like hiding the screen share, but this is like some of the most important files in our code base, and I don't want to accidentally do something I regret. Wow, this is really boring actually. Good point about dropping the conditional and just letting the browser handle it, honestly. Might move to that next. Oh yeah, chorus is blocking here. It's I might just drop this entirely. See what happens. Oh no, it wants a URL. Will it be okay with empty string? Empty string works locally, that's what we're using. Local string does not work, so it does need to be /API/tRPC. Cool, that works. So that's what we'll use. Just use the path. And now we'll keep an eye on this deployment. How are we doing with this build? Shouldn't take too much longer. Build completed. And now, yay, it works. Good call, Alistair. You've been a lifesaver this stream. Broad test. Oh, thanks for saying hi, whoever that was. Cute. This doesn't auto refresh on like others pushing, but if I refresh, I'm sure anybody who's spamming questions, you'll manage to break in pretty fast. Ugh. I'm also a little more tired than I expected. I probably got another half hour or so in me. Trying to decide what we do next. I wish I could make a poll using this, but I can't yet. Soon. So I'll go to Excalibur. What should we do next? I'd say our options are auth, if we want it. The auth would be for like the host. We could also have it off through like a local cookie to make sure they're the only one who can like access it. Could do the DB model for questions, options, and votes. What's my opinion on optimistic UI updates? Yeah. Good if you have a slow DB and you can do them in like a minimal, reliable fashion. Generally, I prefer to build systems where you don't have to be optimistic. You can just, upon getting your response, know that you can refetch and have the right thing. I think polling is underutilized. Like you should be able to fetch again and not have too many consequences as a result. Okay, so options are off, DB model. What was the other thing I was thinking? Yeah, those are like the two big things I could be doing right now. Could also do like the metadata and like, oh, routing per question routes. So you'd have a route you could go to see the results and like answer the poll. So these are like the three things we really have to do. I think we can do any one of these right now and like make progress. I would say they're inverse order of complexity, and I'm leaning towards the bottom one just so that I don't like tire myself out too much in the last little bit of the stream. But I am open for any of these if there's like a particular one people really want. So, yeah. Any thoughts? Anyone? Nothing? Really? A lot of people would have really strong opinions. Okay, one person wants the DB model. Tempting. Yeah, do DB? Okay. One person on YouTube said auth. Everybody's picking the option that I didn't want to do. The options I didn't want to do. Yeah. Routing will be really quick. Okay, I'm gonna do routing super quick. And if I'm still feeling it after, cool. I don't want to do a new folder, I want to do file. question ID .ts. Varchars question page. Export default question page. Cool. Return div. No, it was TS, not TSX. Cool. Const query equals use router. Use router is provided by Next because we're using Next's routing. I have ID in the file name here with like the brackets, which means that's a valid query that we should be able to have access to. Looks like our friends over at GitHub seem to agree with Copilot. And now we can localhost question test. Cool. That works. Question test. That's not the actual question that we want. So if no ID, return div no ID. I don't think this will ever get hit. We do want to like query for that question though. So let's actually make this in the back end. Instead of get all, we want to get by ID. This has an input. Input z.object ID z.string dot find first where ID input.id. And now in here, const data is loading equals distance dot get by ID. String could be string array. I'm going to put this in a subcomponent just to make this easier to deal with hooks-wise. Const questions page content equals .fc ID string type of ID not equal to string. Div data dot question. Cool. And I could error 2. This it returns or null. So if null, I should do a different return here. If not is loading and no data, return div question not found. Cool. And if I Prisma Studio again quick, Prisma Studio, go grab an ID from here, copy, paste, Ta-da! See that, y'all? Now we can paste a URL or a questions URL here or ID here, and it'll open that way. We could even on the home page make all of the questions on here into links. Ahref equals. I'll populate those momentarily. Actually, don't even want to. I would want to use the next link component so that it's a proper single page app. Link href equals slash question slash. And now every one of these should link to that specific question. Magic. Pretty cool, right? Well, that's routing. Told you guys routing wouldn't be too hard. Yeah. I really should model the DB. I did all the easy parts too fast, and I left the hard parts for now. Ugh. Let's do it. So, first we need options, and ugh. I could model options as like their own DB model. I could model options as a JSON blob. I could model options as like an array in here. No, there are no Grados on the wall. I listen to good headphones exclusively. So, sorry. How should we model this? Should I quick and dirty JSON blob it, or should I do it right? The JSON blob would be so easy. Uh, it would be great. Yeah, I'm doing the JSON blob. It's just way too much quicker. JSON blob is always the wrong answer. Mark, this is why you're the CTO and not the streamer. I have enough people asking about the theme. It's Poimanders. Poimandres. They make React 3 Fiber, React Spring, Sustan, Jotai, Valtio, a bunch of other really awesome React-y libraries. Highly recommend checking out that crew. This theme's really nice. I was on Snazzy for like 8 years before moving over to this one, and I haven't thought about switching since. Options, JSON. It could be a JSON array. Is that an option? No, it is not, because there's no arrays in my SQL. Right. And we will model vote. Oh, there's no foreign key constraints in this either. So we're gonna, here's how I'll do this. Poll question or question poll. I'm gonna check roundest because I did this right-ish here. Prismabuilder.io. That actually sounds interesting. That's cool. Thank you for the recommendation. I'm gonna play with this a bit. New model boat. Yeah, this is roughly what I expected. The vote array is here. Choice. I don't want it to be a string. I want it to be a number. Let's call it an int. And then you pick an index and options. tXPrisma db push. That's fine. We're resetting the prod db. Also means we need to add the ability to add the options. So we're getting a type error here because we need options. Let's see what happens if I just do one of these quick. Testing. Howdy, Melky. What's good, man? Good to have you here. tRPC options. Oh, I still haven't regenerated. npx prisma and or npm install might trigger that quick. Kill and reset that so it knows about it. Okay, that works again. And in Prisma Studio, it doesn't know that we made changes, so I have to kill and reset Prisma Studio. Yeah, options is an empty array is valid. Let's go add some quick. Option 1, option 2. Prisma's magic. It's a lot of things I wanted and didn't have prior. It's very nice. It's made my life a lot easier. Increasingly tempted to actually make options its own model as well to make the relations a little easier, but I really like just having vote dumped here. Or sorry, the JSON blob for options, even if I'm losing a lot of the type safety that I live from. Whatever. This is gonna make my life easier for now. And then in here, we should actually display the options for the question. Let's div this guy out. Data dot options dot map option. Turn option. Just put it here for now. I mean, it's already what I want. This is gonna be mad. It's options is a JSON value or undefined. Yeah, it doesn't want me to dump that. Cool. So if I as string array dot map option div option div. That's my next idea. Cool. I'm actually putting the options of a moron. Cool. X2 Excel font bold. X call. Cool. And now we're displaying the options. The next thing to do would be to make these clickable, not show you the ability to vote if you've already voted. Probably storing like, that'll all be done through like the auth thing. That is next. But all the pieces are in place now. This is pretty far along and is very close to how I would have built this if I was like doing it for real as like part of the company or something. So yeah, I'm pretty proud of this for a quick like how long have I been streaming? Like 2-ish hours? Not bad. I'll take it. Start of options and DB model. Cool. Gonna start wrapping up. Gonna open up to questions. Anything here that you guys saw that is interesting, different, not quite how you expected that I could dig in on a little bit before, or a bit more before we wrap up? This is your chance. Ask questions. Someone's gotta have something for me. Come on, y'all. Ugh. God, I'm tired. If you're interested in Prisma, it's really cool. So the magic with Prisma when you start using it is how good the like autocomplete in rules are. So let's say we didn't want to fetch options. We can select ID true, question true. And what you're going to see here, we're actually going to get a type error in this file because it expects options, but we're not selecting that off of poll question here. If I add options true, now the type error goes away because it's getting options. It is incredibly smart about structures and things like this. Like I could even vote select ID true and select just the IDs of votes on this poll question. The nesting, the syntax, the autocomplete, the type safety, it makes my life as a full stack developer a billion times easier. Somebody else asked if they could see the tsconfig again. It's all on GitHub, of course, but I can show you here. The main two changes for the default one are these guys. I hate incremental and no unchecked index access. Access is a phenomenal rule everyone should use. They say strict isn't true by default, but it seems to be. So yeah. Can Prisma be used only with Node? Kinda, yeah. Prisma's strength is its TypeScript experience. It's really built for like TypeScript backends. Is Prisma an add-on to GraphQL? No, Prisma and GraphQL are unrelated. GraphQL is a layer between your backend and your front end. Prisma is a way to connect to your SQL database. They have nothing to do with each other. If you feel like GraphQL and SQL have something to do with each other, your brain's been rotted by the like doings of Hasura and all these other companies that try to make GraphQL an automatic thing on top of your database. They're all delusional and putting your data at risk. Stay away from them as much as you can. If anybody says GraphQL automatic ever, just tune them out. They're only there to hurt you. Sorry about that rant. Any automatic GraphQL stuff is bad, very bad. Build an API. GraphQL for APIs, phenomenal. If you have a backend you own and multiple different clients that are built in multiple different languages, GraphQL is one of the best ways to build a relationship between all those things. But GraphQL is not the way to manage your database. It is not built for that. None of the people who are involved in the creation of GraphQL thought it was for databases. It's not. It's a query language. It's the graph query language. Even for a full single page app, you recommend Next? That's actually the thing I recommend it for the most. I wouldn't use Next for a more static multi-page app experience if I could avoid it. Things like Astro are way better for that. I almost exclusively build single page apps, and I exclusively build them in Next.js right now. It is the easiest way to do that. Can you use Prisma without TypeScript? In JavaScript, sure, but I don't see why you would. I would just bite the bullet and use TypeScript. It's such a nice quality of life win. It's made my life as a developer significantly easier. I highly recommend biting the bullet and using TypeScript. Don't learn TypeScript. Don't go read a book for 2 weeks to learn every detail about it. You might have noticed today, actually, here's one of my favorite facts about tRPC. See this file, this router file in tRPC? That is our entire backend right now with the get all, get by ID, create. Seasoned JavaScript and seasoned TypeScript developers might notice something here. There isn't a single line of TypeScript in this file. There isn't a single binding to a type definition anywhere in here. This entire file is JavaScript. It generates type definitions because it calls things that are written in TypeScript. So if I hover over here and I hover over resolve, you'll see I get the poll questions back from here. And when I use that on client, I still have those types, but I didn't have to write a type to get there. I didn't have to write TypeScript to benefit from TypeScript in this instance. The only types in this code base right now are, this React-FC doesn't even have one. I had in here, React-FC ID string here. I wrote a type definition. I said this function needs an ID that's a string to come into it. There, I have one type definition. Do I have any others? I don't think I do. Oh, I put a type here for the use ref. Is that it? Is that all of the type definitions in this code base? Oh, app router for with tRPC, so it knows the type there. And then in tRPC, I do bind a few types with the utils to like get those through. So I import this type and then I bind it here, but I don't actually write any types. I haven't written any type other than that one prop type in this entire code base already, and I have all the parts lined up. I think that's all I got. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, excitement, things I should think about for the next show? I'll probably finish this up on Wednesday. I do a stream every Wednesday at around 3 p.m. PST. I try to go live other times throughout the week. I didn't for a while because Y Combinator was total chaos for me, but that's over. Where through that, obviously still have to focus on running the company, but we got plenty to do there, and I should have enough time to stream a tiny bit more. It's also valuable because, like, as you know, we're building tools for streamers. So the more we can know about the streamer experience and the more I can live this life, the better the things we build are. Also, thank you to people in chat answering all the questions that I'm missing quickly. tRPCs are a replacement for like GraphQL or kind of REST. It's a way for your backend and your frontend to communicate if both of them are in TypeScript. MySQL and Planetscale is what we're building on top of the it's what we're using for almost all of our deployments, be it for ping, be it for what we just built here. Planetscale lets us scale infinitely, not think too much about it. Have I played with Maui? I'm assuming you mean MUI. Watch the VOD from last week if you want to see my thoughts on MUI. Don't touch it. Just don't use it. We can do better now. Think that's it. Any last thoughts, questions, or concerns, or is it time to go find someone to raid? How are we going to find someone at this hour? No, MA dot. Is this what you mean? Yeah, no, I have not tried Maui. Sorry. Algorithms, lame. Anyone see somebody they know here that they want me to specifically raid? I'll hear somebody building something in my like general wheelhouse. React Markdown editor. If she's using TypeScript, we're rating her. If it's JavaScript, she's screwed, but TypeScript, she gets it. Oh, no, it's JavaScript. She doesn't get the raid. Lesson learned, y'all. If you stream on Twitch, use TypeScript if you want the raids. Raid Simon? Sure. Simon it is. Yeah, I'll get to go do some leak code. Let's... Probably be faster for me to do this on my computer, but lazy. Raid. Make sure he knows I sent you all. Thanks for stopping by. Hop in on Wednesday if you want to see us finish this code base up. Thanks again, y'all. Peace. Good show. Fun as ever. Right away.